hit the wrong button, accidentally went live before I put my microphone up. So there you go. That's how we're ringing in the new year on Drums and Drams. What's up, guys? Welcome to a quick little live stream. Although if these shenanigans continue, it's going to be a little less quick. We're going to do a 30-minute-ish focused tasting of all of the STAGG releases from 2024. So 24A, 24B, 24C. So let's get a couple more people in here. Everyone's in here already waiting. Yeah, we're a little more than 5 minutes late. Sorry about that. It's been a rough day today. I'm going to just tell you that. So, but we're in it. We're ready to do this. So again, what we're going to be doing today is a blind tasting, and this is going to be, obviously single blind. I know what these are. I'm not going to know what order they're in. Excuse me. So I'm going to label the glasses myself. I'll mix them up in front of you guys here so you can watch me pour, even though this extends the time of the stream just a little bit. It's just so that you can see everything is above board and transparent. There's no agenda here with me, choosing which one of these is which. So I do want to make sure I get the fill levels of these glasses all relatively the same. That way there's no giveaways of which one is which. Then I'll label the glasses in pencil, written really lightly. And then after that, I'll go ahead and mix the glasses up, and then I'll sticker the sides of them A, B, and C so that, after I mix them up, or I'll call them 1, 2, and 3 so we don't confuse them with 24 A, B, and C. So a little bit more of this. I'll give you the proof points as we go. And basically the point here is not to guess which is which. It's just going to be to try to determine my favorite STAGG of 2024. So do hit that like button when you come in here if you're in the live chat, or if you're watching this after the fact. Thank you for checking this out. Hit that like button as well. Consider subscribing to the channel. And real quick, guys, before we dive into this, today I posted my most disappointing whiskey video for 2024. And I'm not going to spoil what that was. But I'll say this, I'm prepared for hateful comments no matter what I say on a video like that. You say the most this or the least that, and you're talking about anything, you're going to have people that disagree with you, and you're going to have people that get nasty. There haven't been any comments that have been too terrible lately on that video, but I can just sense them. I can just sense that they're coming. And so, that is the, I guess those are the crosshairs that you put on yourself when you make that kind of content. But at the same time, I think it was a decent piece of content, at least from my perspective, having just tasted that particular bottle in the video. In a side-by-side comparison, it didn't do very well, and then I was just kind of, inclined to make that video. Now, why am I saying this? Well, one thing I want to be clear to people is that I was talking about what I consider to be my most disappointing whiskey, not the worst whiskey. I'm not saying it's the worst thing that's been released this year. I'm just saying, all things considered, the weight, the expectations, the presumption of quality that you would have from an E.H. Taylor special release, like all of those things combined, that's where the disappointment comes from. And I don't think it's very good whiskey, but it's not the worst whiskey I've had this year. So I just thought, worth clarifying here for whatever reason, even though this is not directly associated with that video. So I thought that was worth calling out. And then finally, guys, if anybody's following along with the 12 Drams of Christmas series, before we get into this, I am a day behind. We're probably going to be a day behind for another day or two. I've been dealing just with some stuff behind the scenes, personal stuff. So it's delayed production. But hey, I've put out like 9 videos in 5 days or something silly like that. So it's a lot of content coming on the channel and even more to follow. Today's warm-up pour, 110 proof Dark Arts pick from the Bourbon Junkies. Just getting like dark fruits on my palate, little MGP to prep for these high-proof Buffalo Trace products. So cheers, guys. Let me know if you're sipping anything, and Happy New Year to all of you. If you are like celebrating tonight, please be safe. Please don't drive drunk or even tipsy. Just be safe and have a good time. But don't do anything irresponsible. So cheers. All right. For some reason, my nose is a little stuffy today. Not sure what's going on. So I'm going to mix these up right now. Unfortunately, I can't really tell you. Which of these glasses is which along the way. Like, I can't make black note cards for these and hold it up like I normally do on live streams, just because I just did this mix up myself. So because of that, you guys are not going to find out what I'm sipping until the very end of this. So I think we are in, let's do one more switch, a good enough order here. So I'm going to label these glasses now ABC. No, no, I'm not. I'm going to label them 1, 2, 3. And if Matt Porter's watching, he's going to tell me my 1s and my 2s look similar. I don't know, Matt Porter. I don't know about that, dude. Travis, did you get my 12 bottles of floor whiskey sent out today? Not yet, Travis. There's a lot of it back there. I had this place spick and span. It was clean. Now it's floor whiskey city again. Let me see who's hanging out here tonight. As I get into this glass 1 on the nose. Oh, wow. All right, glass 1. Very interesting kind of candied, bright fruit note on glass 1 is standing out immediately. Looks like somebody in here. Jeremy got a 24C. Well, let's find out how it does today, Jeremy. But either way, congratulations. Getting a stag anywhere even close to SRP is just an accomplishment. I've only had it happen once, and I did not pay SRP. I paid well over SRP for it. But even having someone pull 2 bottles out of the back and offer it to me was like a really cool thing. So I remember that feeling. All right. Slad, it's 24A. There, I saved you an hour. Wow, Slad. All right. You better not be hanging out then. Oh, you're still in here, huh? I'm going to guess Stag wins, says Sam. That's funny, guys. All right, let's get into this. If I missed anything in the chat, just post it again. I'll see it. I'm going to follow along now. All right, glass A on the nose. Glass 1 on the nose. Yeah, so I'm going to do a quick down the line just to get set with this coming off of the Dark Arts. Okay. All right. So glass 1 on the nose again. Like the first thing that jumped out of the glass for me was this kind of bright candied fruit note. That might sound like an expected thing from Stagg, but these 3 batches of Stagg this year have all been vastly different. And sometimes, you know, in the past, Staggs will lean into dark fruits. They'll lean red fruit. They'll lean grape. They'll lean more caramelized. I mean, it's a profile that is somewhat homogenous, but still has these little discrepancies between the different batches. So I don't think it's a foregone conclusion here. I think it's a unique thing that there's this bright candied fruit note. Let's just taste it. There's some... All right, interesting. The palate was flatter than I thought it was going to be. And I'm coming off a 110 proof. Nose set me up for big expectations on this. Palate fell a little bit flat. But I need to see if these other 2 kind of do the same. And maybe that's just I need to get myself into the profile of the Staggs right now. But I thought the nose was going to be... giving us a little different palette here. Yeah, this is there's a lot of, like, I mentioned that bright candied fruit note. There's also like this menthol and green apple combination on the nose. It's just very bright overall, I would say. Okay. So we're going to come back to that. It's a good starting point for tonight's flight. All right, Paul says he got the Jack 12 batch 2 today. Hopefully it's rocking. It's a pretty good pour there, Paul. It's pretty good. I still like that batch 1 a little bit better. Just because the batch 1 had a little less banana. Batch 2 leaned more into that banana, and I think batch 2 leaned a little bit more into like almost that kind of charcoal-y note that you can sometimes get on Jack. Specifically, Jack 10 will get that note. I thought batch 2 of the 12 year had a little more of that charcoal with the banana, whereas batch 1 was more of this like sweeter, richer oak profile. You can't go wrong with either one of them, and at the price, it's just a ridiculous value. So not sure what you paid for it, but if it's under secondary, then you pretty much did well. Okay, let's go to glass 2. Again, this first one is just a little once over. Is my nose like just totally squirrely tonight? I gotta coat these glasses. I feel like I just smelled glass 2 and it smelled like peat. It smelled like smoky or something. What is going on? All right. Strange. Let's go back to glass 2. Glass 2 is just very much a burnt caramel baking spice kind of profile for me. But it also feels pretty intense on the nose. Like proof is showing through more on the nose on glass 2 than it was on glass 1. I'll do another glass 3 nosing before I taste glass 2. All right, so glass 3 is the most reserved on the nose. Yeah. This is the most tame, it feels like. But I think outlier profile-wise is glass 1. Glass 1 on the nose with this brighter fruit character is kind of an outlier, and the palate was weird for me. So let's go to glass 2 now. Take a sip. The palate on glass 2, better than glass 1. Better spice, more like a big vanilla note on the palate here that I was not really expecting based on the nose. Little cotton candy kind of action on this one. All right, and as I return to the nose, I'm starting to pick up more of this vanilla, like a little bit of pepperiness on here, whereas before I got it on the palate, it was feeling a little more muddled and kind of, burnt caramels. All right, so I feel like my palate is now like acclimated to the Stagg. And you don't ever want to start, like to me when I do these focused kind of tasting flights on these 30-minute streams or whatever, I never want to like prep my palate too much and get tipsy or drink like, I mean, what are these? These are about, 128 basically. 128 proof across the board. I want to start lower and work my way up to this. I don't want to just like drink a different batch of Stagg and come in here because I think sometimes you can burn yourself out right up front. So there's always this acclimation period, I think, with these streams where it's just like, I've got to get this profile on my palate, especially when you're dealing with things that are so closely related like Staggs, or usually I do this with Elijah Craig Barrel Proof or Larceny, and they're all high proof. They're all really intense whiskeys. DeMarcus, Happy New Year, man. Finally snagged a Magnus Cigar Blend for my birthday. Nice, dude. Which batch did you get? Just out of curiosity. I think we're pretty high up now. And I haven't had one of the, like since Nancy's been talking about the newer batches having older stuff in them again and all that, I haven't had any of these newer batches. All right, let's go to glass 3. All right, glass 3 is, what do I want to say about this? Maybe the most sweet spice kind of profile. This feels maybe a little bit like nutmeggy and clovey almost, and it's not like common. It smells like a Cinnabon a little bit, and it's not as common of a profile, I feel like, for Staggs. I gotta get it on the palate though to see if that tracks. Wow, that totally... I'm going to have to compare that to glass 1, which I thought had a kind of a stranger palate too, but it was also my first sip. Glass 3 is all along the sides of your tongue, and it completely misses the middle of your tongue when you take a sip of that. The profile is awesome. It's delicious. And actually, it's the least ethanol forward of the bunch. Like, there's all flavor and no ethanol to that one for me. But the drinking experience completely suffers. So that's kind of an unexpected thing for a Stagg to have. Yeah, it's very like, voice crack. Heyo. It's very like woodsy. It feels like a little bit like damp oak, a little rickhousey almost. with those kind of clove and like brown sugar, nutmeg, like very, you know, allspice. It's just very aromatic, I think. Huh. It's so nice up front, and you want it to ramp up, and it never ramps up. It just smoothly trails off all along the sides of your tongue, nothing in the middle of the tongue. So that, to me, signifies a less than stellar blend. It's like when barrels just don't work together. I talk about this on the channel all the time. You can really find this out when you do home blending for yourself, and you mix two things together that don't work. You think it's going to be, you know, better than the sum of its parts, and it ends up worse than both of the parts because, I think I said that wrong, but that's okay. It's been a long day. But it ends up worse off, and you end up like missing parts of the experience, whether it's the mid palate or the finish just goes away. This happens, and so when you have these larger batches of products, it can still happen. I think when you blend a bunch of barrels together, hundreds of barrels, and you end up with something like this, you can still kind of miss part of the experience. Sugar Kitty, I hate clove notes. The flavor chemical is called eugenol. That crap tastes to me like cheaply made bad candy, and it's used in numbing your gum by dentists. Shiver through my spine. That's funny. So I don't mind clove. I think clove type notes can manifest in different ways in different whiskeys, and it's easy to be overcooked on those notes. Glass 3, in this case, it's very subtle. Whereas sometimes when you throw things in like a wave stave barrel can do it. Wave stave barrel can go rubbery. It can also go clove heavy. And so those are probably the strongest clove notes that I've gotten in whiskeys would be from those finishing barrels. But this one is more balanced. I don't know if it would be as offensive, Sugar Kitty, but maybe. Okay, Chris. Did you prep your palate? If so, how, with what? So, admittedly, today I didn't prep it very well. I just had this one pour of Dark Arts 10-year Bourbon Junkies pick. So, something to kind of warm up. It smells good. It's actually kind of nice to smell that and then come back to these Staggs because it gives you a different point of reference. Okay. All right. So I have an initial order on these. My initial order is 2. Here we go. This is going to be fun. I'm going to reblind these. So just so you guys know, my initial first impression order. Let's see if this follows. All right. How could I do this the most effectively? My initial order is glass 2 in first place. Somebody remember this, please. 2 in first place, 1 in second place, 3 in third place. So I'm going to sticker these on the bottom with those initial numbers, and we'll see if once I do my final order at the end, if it ends up being the same order of these glasses. All right. So now I'm going to mix them up one more time. I think this will be fun. This is a little spin on what I normally do for these videos. So I'm going to mix them up now. Sugar Kitty says, fair, just a tiny bit of clove is okay, but if it's enough to make me think dentist, it's just an emotional thing. Yeah, I get it. It's funny, like those, there are some of those things that you have memories associated with certain tastes that you just can't get out of your head. Joe. What? Person, woman, man, camera, TV. What are you saying, Joe? Okay, time to re-sticker one more time. So we're going to call this glass D, E, and F so we don't get the letters and the numbers confused. So glass D is here. And sometimes, you know, what I'm doing right now, guys, by doing this blind a second time, number one, I'm trying to see if there's any consistency between my results. And then number two, when you're doing barrel picks, this is a really important thing to do. Once you get to the end, If you have things that you're between, you need to immediately get rid of them, re-pour them, like fresh pours of both, re-sticker them, and have somebody give you that blind again and see if you're consistent. That way you can ensure you're doing the barrel pick, correctly. You guys are funny in the chat. Okay, so let's start with glass D, which is the first one in this new order. All right. I'm getting quite a bit of grape notes on the palate of this first glass, glass D. Palate drink really nice. It felt balanced. It felt like a really nice drinking experience. Like that was through and through just very solid, I think, from nose to palate. Let's go to glass E. Okay. I'm going to give my palate a quick rest. E felt a little flat on the palate for me, but I did take that sip pretty quickly after the last one. Just got an opening my Boulder cast strength. Matt's fault, but a solid suggestion. I had to pass up several stags this year. They just want way too much for them around me. Yeah. I think hopefully these stags will come back down to earth a little bit as it feels like supply is continuing to increase in the market, just kind of across the board. I mean, for us in Ohio, there are certain things sitting on the shelves right now that never used to sit on the shelf. And so I do find that somewhat reassuring as I kind of pop into stores occasionally, and it's like, oh, hey, there's like an entire shelf of Larceny Barrel Proof just sitting there. Huh, okay. Not that that's the rarest thing in the world, but stores around here used to get one case of Larceny Barrel Proof, and it'd be the first thing sold out in the line. All right. Let's go to glass F now. Ooh, glass F is like birthday cake flavored ice cream, or it's like cookie dough a little bit. Super sweet, super vanilla sweet. Easy. The profile is not my preferred stag profile for that, but you can't argue with the nose. It's super sweet. You can't argue with the palate. It drinks with a steady crescendo that you want up front. It's like a little bit of like a bell curve. Yeah, it's just got a great development. The way that it paces itself out on the palate. It ramps up and it holds, and then it slowly decays. That's probably, I think, just first sip of that is probably the winner. Let me go back to glasses D and E now to pick a second and third. Okay, I'm going to start with glass E because I think this is in last place right now. Yeah, dark. Very woody, but flat. And last sip is going to be glass D. These are probably going to be in the same order that I had them in. Very solid. Candy note up front. Then it drops down into that kind of darker fruit stag territory. Berries, like lots of berry notes in here. Good palate, but it doesn't win against glass F. So if I had to guess, this would be my guesses going into this final ordering, and then we'll see if I was consistent through my two blinds. So my winner is F, second place is D, third place is E. I think in third place is 24C. I think second place is B, and I think first place is A. So let's reveal last place, the kind of flatter whiskey, at least on this tasting. What? Whoa. No, I did that right, didn't I? Hang on. That is glass 3. So this was the flat one, stayed the flat one. That's A. I really thought A was going to be the bright and lively sweet one. I really did. I'm completely confused now. Huh. Okay, guys. I'm going to like re-pour one of these at the end of this stream because I have to like check my work because that is blowing my mind. So I have no clue. I thought that... What's up, Matt Porter? Second place I thought was B. Let's see. It is B. Holy shit, C1? Am I smoking something? What is going on? That's cool. I mean, this is why you do blinds. I had an expectation, and this did not meet it. So, glass 1 was in my second place, which is D, and that is 24B. So I think I was consistent on all of this. From first blind to second blind, I was consistent. I had the glasses in the same order, even after relabeling them. But the profiles are blowing me away. So this was kind of a little bit of a giveaway for 24B because it had that brighter candied note on it that I have called candied watermelon before, or watermelon Jolly Rancher is what I think I said about it. That was kind of a dead giveaway, and it's a really solid batch. I gotta, guys, before you take anything from this, I'm going to unblind re-pour A and C and see what happens because I'm so confused about that. So that means the winner is C. Wow. And I thought C was flat. If whatever's in that glass is drinking really well. Let me put that side by side up against A. This is crazy. I gotta stand by that. So let me grab 2 fresh glasses. So let's do this unblind now. Look, I don't think I screwed anything up. Like, I could go back and watch the beginning of the video. 24B came out of this sample bottle from Justin. So I went bottle, sample, bottle when I first poured them. I don't think there was any issue there, but let's do this again. Crazy. I really thought that, like, I tasted 24C. I mean, heck, I think I tasted it last night, actually. And I texted Justin, and I was like, dude, 24C is, like, flat on the palate. He was like, yeah, it is. And here we are in this blind, and so on your left is A. On your right is B. A is 1.3 proof points higher, but they're essentially the same proof. Jay, maybe the hat affects your palate. Oh, Jay. Matt, I've already reblinded them once. I re-stickered those glasses. I moved the stickers onto the bottom and re-stickered them again, mixed them back up, and my initial order came out the same both times. So now I know that I've poured them correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and go for it. What's up, Dan? Drinking the Crittenden's Rye pick. Glad you enjoy it, man. spending too much time around the junkies. That's funny. Okay. So let's do this again. Let's check back in on this. So glass A, or batch A. Batch A now. Yeah, it's very woody to me. Like on the nose, I'm getting a lot of it's rickhousey. It's almost a little bit, it's almost nutty in some way. Not like peanut. I'm not saying that. Just a little hint of a nuttiness almost. Huh. Okay, and then on to batch C. Batch C is just super sweet. Wow. Yeah. Okay, that tracks with what I said in the blind. So now let me taste glass A. Batch A is more of a peppery spice. It's tingly on the palate with the spice. It's not as flavorful with the spice. Now there are kind of, so this didn't miss the middle of the tongue the same way that it did in the blind. It still is more on the sides of the tongue than the middle, but it's not as it's not as offensive, if you want to say that. It's kind of a, it's not the right word, but it's not as bad as I thought it was in the blind. But all right, let's go on to this other one. Glass. I can't even do this. Batch C. So the sweetness on glass C, batch C, the sweetness on batch C is more of a, like it feels almost like a younger whiskey sweetness, because I mentioned in the blind birthday cake, ice cream, and like cookie dough almost. And that's right. It does have those notes. And even though they're a little more slightly youthful and a little maybe brighter, they're so much more intense, and it's so much sweeter on the nose that I just prefer having that much sweetness on these stags, out of these three at least, because usually I prefer dark, heavy, rich, fruity stag batches. None of these are really that. Like none of these are your batch 12 profile, which had all those, and batch 12 is hard to recreate. Batch 22A, like these really dark fruit rich batches, none of these are that. These are just kind of their own beasts individually. All right, so let's taste this now. Wow. Yeah, I think there's no mistake in the blind. So I got to roll with these results. It'd be interesting to blind these another time. I have a feeling it would come out the same way, though, because I feel like I know these profiles now. But this batch C, I think the reason I like it so much, and the reason it stood out in the blind, is that it's fuller. So batch A, I mentioned that it was a very peppery spice. And what that means to me is that instead of the whiskey feeling like embracing on the palate and broad, it's got all these like little pointillistic things going on with this pepper spice. And so it never feels as enveloping as it could. And then, 24B, which came in second place, that's just like good middle of the road the entire time. It's dark, it's not special in any way. And that's kind of what I've said about it before. And then C, it's broad, it's sweet with that brighter, more kind of cookie dough, birthday cake ice cream sweetness. But then as it starts to trail back, the spice notes push the flavor forward. The spice notes don't become pointillistic and prickly like A. They just push the flavor out onto your tongue. So I think that's why. I think 24C feels more full-bodied to me on the palate, which is weird because I thought it was flat on a tasting last night. All right, one more sip of each, and then I'll wrap this up. My mind is just blown, and so I'm not trying to stall. I'm just confused about this. So I want to, this is a good learning experience for me too. Yeah. It's a little dry. 24C and the finish is a little bit dry, which maybe that's part of the thing that contributed to me tasting this on a whim last night, unblind, that made me think it was a little flat. Sometimes a dry finish can make a whiskey feel a little bit flat because it feels like it cuts off in the finish because the dryness kicks in. All right, and last sip, which could be 24A. Yeah, that feels more. I gotta stand by it. There's some strawberry and cherry in there, but it's a little thinner on the palate because of those prickly spice notes. Feels a little more like an E.H. Taylor barrel proof than it does a Stagg. And let me just make a kind of overall claim about Stagg in 2024. I think this was a pretty weak year for Stagg overall. If you look back to 2023, I would say 23A was probably, that was probably the best one. 23B was tragic. 22B was also tragic. 23C was kind of flat. It was just like a high proof Eagle Rare. And then you go back to 22, and the 22A was amazing. Like, I think from 2022 to now, 22A is probably the best batch. And then before that, it gets a little murky as we go back to batch 18, batch 17. I'm a batch 12 person as far as, when you go that far back. But I think this year for Stagg was kind of a weak year. I think this year for Elijah Craig Barrel Proof was a fine year, like in the modern day, post 2020 Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. I think this year was a fine year. Larceny Barrel Proof, I felt like it was just an okay year. I thought last year for Larceny Barrel Proof, I felt like 2022 for Larceny Barrel Proof were better years. I loved C922, C923, B523 Larceny Barrel Proofs. So it's interesting, like, to now be, 4 years into the channel and being able to track year to year the progression of sets of whiskeys like Stagg's, Larceny's, Elijah Craig Barrel Proofs, not Booker's. We're never going to track Booker's here unless they get better. But it's fun to track these year to year. And sometimes it can feel like every year I'm saying, oh, last year was better. Last year was better. I don't always think that's the case. But this, for me, probably was a down year for Stagg. You'd have to compare them side by side, of course. But I will say this year for Stagg is probably the most unique group of three. Like, I don't think I remember over the last couple of years, I don't remember this much disparity in profile between the batches, because like we have this watermelon Jolly Rancher thing, which otherwise, if you take that note out, is just a solid dark batch of Stagg. Then you have this kind of like prickly E.H. Taylor barrel proof type batch, which reminds me of batch 15. And then you have this weird, like, I think 24C is the weirdest batch, which it's my favorite. Maybe it's because I like off-profile type stuff. It's just kind of all over the place, and it's kind of cool. Yeah, interesting. Maybe this blind on a different night, like double blind, if somebody sent me these three, or maybe just A and C in a blind at some point, and I had no idea what I was tasting at all, it could end up different, but if I did this again myself, it's probably going to end up the same way because I'm too familiar now with the profiles. So I think that's it, guys. Slad, any thoughts about A125 stats? What were those stats again? Wasn't it 10-year, 9-month, 118 proof? Let me look this up. It was in the, we talked about it in the Discord earlier. ECBP A125. 10 years, 7 months, 118.2 proof. 10 years, 7 months, 118.2 proof. Don't judge a book by its cover. Who knows? Maybe they took a bunch of 10-year, 7-month short barrels and blended them together. First floor short barrels. I don't know. This was everybody's worry when they eliminated the 12-year age statement and the proof started dropping. This was everybody's worry, and everybody's worry is coming true now. But they do 3 batches a year, and it seems like they try to... It seems like they go for the C batch being the highest proof batch at this point. Like, we'll see how that continues to develop. Maybe they just pull low floors for A, mid floors for B, and high floors for C. I could totally see that happening. If they're doing that, though, you know what I would love? I would love for Heaven Hill or any distillery like Stagg, you know, with Sazerac. I'd love for these distilleries to come out and say what they're trying to do with their different batches. It doesn't have to be a profile that you want. It could just be low, mid, and high floor pulls. Or we're going for this campus, then this campus, you know, then this campus as far as rickhouses go. Just let us in on the process of why you chose those barrels. And it doesn't even have to be artistic. It can just be logistic, you know, and just so that we have something to go off of when we're talking about the whiskeys. But the problem is, for me, if you're going to pull from like lower floors, which presumably that's why you're getting 118 proof Elijah Craig barrel proof. And sorry if anybody's watching the replay and they're like, why is he talking about Elijah Craig on a Stag stream? Sorry, this kind of derailed a little bit, but it's good. If you're going to pull from low floors, pull higher age statements. Pull 14-year barrels from the first and second floors so that you can have the rounded out, richer profile. But if you're pulling, like, it benefits us so that the C barrels, like if you go to C923, it was like 13 year, 7 month, and it was 133 proof. That to me says high age barrels, obviously, and it says high floors in the rickhouse. But then you see this and you're like, well, if you're going to do that there, and then you're going to inverse that, and you're going to go low age statements and low floors, which means less barrel impact, you're just going to get a whiskey that's, you know, not what Elijah Craig barrel proof was built on. And that's what A124 was. A124 was low proof, low age, grassy as hell, the worst Elijah Craig barrel proof ever released. It's going to suck if they repeat that with A125. Lofty, would you recommend the Four Roses 24 LE for $325 if you had the chance? I don't know. The palate on this year's batch wasn't that great to me. The nose is like, you could just sit and smell that whiskey all day. And the palate kind of diverged, like the flavors dropped off early in the palate. The spice kept going, but to no real benefit because it just kind of it falls apart on the palate. But the nose is amazing. Front of the palate, mid palate are delicious. And then the finish goes away. So $325, like $325 needs to be a special whiskey probably. I don't think that quite lives up to spending that kind of money on it. You know, they're what, like 160, 180 SRP. I'd say 200 is the top I'd want to pay for that, just based on how that batch tastes, not necessarily based on the name and the rarity and the clout of Four Roses. Okay, I think that's it, guys. So if you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Please check out the Patreon too, by the way. Patreon community is, you know, full steam ahead. We've got about 400 paid members in there, which is amazing. We've got some barrel picks dropping in 10 days. So that's going to be some 15 and 16-year-old Buffalo Turkey stuff from River Roots called The Bard and the Princess. And then 3 weeks later, we're going to be dropping a sick 11-year MGP bourbon from Short Barrel. It's about 119 proof, something around that. 36 rye mash. It's amazing. Plus a double oaked Burai. We've got a lot of that to go around, about 168 bottles. That's going to be 80, 85 bucks-ish. So we've got some barrel picks coming up this month. I mean, we're booked out on barrel picks probably till April as far as drops go. We've got some cool ones in the works. Very, very cool ones. Limestone Farms, private stock, maybe that's going to happen. We'll see. But it's going to happen. We've got a lot of exciting stuff happening. and I'm so pumped about it. So check out the Patreon, $5 or $10 a month. Those are the tiers that are open right now. Everything else is sold out. And what else? Oh, check out those. Listen, guys. I know people give me crap for this, right? I know people give me crap for this. The triangle, the glockenspiel, all the stuff. It's fun to make fun of. But the 12 Drams of Christmas videos have been a lot of fun to make. Again, I'm a day behind right now. I'm sorry about that. But there's going to be a cool one coming out with cymbals and tambourine. I'm probably going to do like a 3x3, where I'm 9 people on the screen playing just a bunch of tambourines and cymbals just to make it way overkill. And that's going to be a lot of fun. So these videos are, they're going to return tomorrow. They're going to come back out tomorrow. I missed yesterday, so yesterday's video dropped today and all that. But it's been fun to make and fun to do all these blind tastings for you guys. And I'm banking a bunch of content right now because I'm going to be on the road for about 8 or 9 days, traveling around doing barrel picks starting next Monday. And so that's it. Thank you. Cheers. Have a happy new year. Have a safe new year celebration if you're doing that tonight. And I'm going to have a final sip of STAGG 24C, which I didn't expect to win tonight, but it did. Pretty easily, actually. You guys are funny. Yeah, Dylan, you could blow an entire orchestra out with a triangle if you really wanted to. You just pick up a massive triangle beater, a massive triangle, and you can go to town on that thing, man. That's funny. If they weren't in the Patreon before, if the triangle is the selling point, then get your ass in there. I'll do all the triangle you want. I'm a cheap date. Cheers, guys, and have a good New Year's Eve.